Well, hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Exceptional Living. I'm your host, April Ripley, and I'm so excited to be with you today. And I cannot wait to share with you our very special guests. But as you know, this show is always to inform, to inspire, and to ignite the greatness that lies in each one of you. So we hear life changing concepts, strategic insights, intentional tactics, and proven tools from local and global thought leaders, experts, innovators, creatives, and global change agents that will equip and empower you for influence, for credibility, and increase competency. Remember, this world is designed for us to fit in, but you, yes, you were created to stand out, to be exceptional, unique by design. And I'm so excited for our special guests today because they are truly multi-hyphenate creatives. DeAngelo G. Rolle and Talia Rolle. DeAngelo Rolle was born in the beautiful island of Nassau, Bahamas. He is the first of 6 children. At the age of 7, DeAngelo's father passed, and leaving him with his mother to take care of 6 children. Life was not always easy for DeAngelo. He got involved with the wrong crowd and later into gangs. But there was this moment, this transformative moment that happened as he was introduced to a program called Operation Redemption, led by Dr. Carlos Reed, where he gave his life to Christ and began his passage into self-discovery through mentorship. DeAngelo began to develop a passion for media ministry, editing, and film production. And for all of you who have seen this introduction into exceptional living, this is the work of his creative genius, along with his wife, Talia. DeAngelo's passion led him to Bahamas Faith Ministries in 2013 to work under Dr. Miles Monroe and Pastor Richard Pender. He served as production assistant for 2.5 years, producing ads, programs, promotional videos, and all kind of creative things. The list is too long to name. But DeAngelo has traveled around the world with his motto held close to his heart and also to his hands, that your gift will make room for you and be phenomenal or be forgotten. DeAngelo, along with his wife Talia, launched GD Media Solutions, film production, editing, crew, and media multi-mogul. He does everything, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even know. There's so much to go into the list, but let me tell you about this dynamic woman who you will also see sitting at his side today. Talia Rolle, also born in the beautiful island nation of the Bahamas. She is the daughter of the late Dr. Richard Pender and Pastor Sheena Pender, who still works there in Nassau, Bahamas. Talia has a love for hospitality. So her track was a little bit different, but still creative. Follow me. She enrolled in Lincoln's Culinary Institute, formerly the Florida Culinary Institute, where she received a degree in culinary arts and culinary management, graduating with honors. No doubt about it. And I have to say that I have been honored and privileged to have partaken of Talia's creative culinary works. And every trip to the Bahamas, I'm always like, Talia. Okay, so I digress, but back to the program. Talia earned a certificate in event planning, and she left the restaurant that she worked at, which was the world-renowned Nobu restaurant at the Atlantis Paradise Island in Nassau. She left that, taking a break from hospitality to join her family in ministry as conference manager of Monroe Global. But I will tell you that she has been cooking up, pun intended, some things. So stay tuned. In 2016, Talia and DeAngelo were married and they started GD Media Solutions, a multimedia company headquartered in Nassau, Bahamas, but impact around the world. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our very special guests today, DeAngelo Rolle and Talia Rolle. Hi.
You're so special. I'm so honored.
Oh, I'm the one. I'm so excited because I love you guys. Okay, so like one of definitely my most favorite couples in the entire world. Just your heart and passion for what you do, but from an authentic place. And when I was thinking of, bringing more of these creative voices and faces to this platform, I thought the Rolle's got it. Because you fit the role.
Thank you.
I like that.
Well, welcome to Exceptional Living, Talia DeAngelo. So, tell us, what does exceptional living mean to you?
Well, for me, I think exceptional living can be really relative because I think it means something different to everybody. I just think exceptional living is living your best life, whatever that means to you, whether it's successful. I mean, of course, everybody wants to be successful financially, but for some people, that's not their top priority. They just want peace. They want inner peace. They want to be happy. But I think that exceptional living is just you living your best life, however that looks, however you want to define that. I think that's exceptional living, you being happy and living your best life.
And for me, I know my wife said a lot, but for me, and especially in the creative arts, exceptional living for me is like setting myself apart. She might have said success is relative, but for me to be able to shine in the arts and the field that I am, I have to set myself apart. I have to be different from everybody else because the field that I'm in is saturated. There's so many individuals coming up each and every day. I'm learning the arts, learning the media. But what makes me be an exceptional living? What makes me go travel around the world to Africa, Israel, United States, South America? What sets me apart? And that's me being exceptional. And as April said earlier, one of my mantras is be phenomenal or be forgotten. And that's the whole thing about it. Be phenomenal or be forgotten. And my gift will make room for me. And so if you want to live an exceptional life, you have to set yourself apart from the crowd and be phenomenal at anything you do.
Oh, I love that. You have to set yourself apart. So that means then, Talia D, that it's intentional, right?
It is.
There's a lot of people who do what you do. So what makes you stand out?
Right.
So share with us some things that the both of you have done to make yourselves stand out.
So especially for me in the arts, one of the things my wife always tried to tell me to do is don't copy and try to be the first. And trying to be the first at what you do helps you to stand out, like the way your intro was done. I've been doing those type of intros for so long, and you've been coming to the conference and you were being amazed by all the work I've been doing. And so that's something you grab to. A lot of persons are doing those type of intros now in 2020. But I was doing stuff like that from like 2016, 2017, and that's what drew me into Bahamas Faith Ministry because of the great work. One thing I also do is try to stay current, try to keep myself relevant with the new trends, new reading books. As you can see, we have our bookshelf behind us. We have a bookshelf in the front of us. I spend a lot of money and invested in books, material, new equipment. I always try to learn. During the pandemic, I spent a lot of time on like courses. I do a lot of courses too. We enroll in lots of courses and staying in the new trends. That's the main thing. Like right now, if you check out my pages, you'll see I'm doing a lot of the TikTok trends or the social media reels because that's going to set me apart. That's going to say, okay, DeAngelo is following the new trends, but at the same time, he's stepping outside of the realm of what everybody else is doing.
Just really piggybacking off what DeAngelo said, I think it's really important, especially when it comes to cheating media solutions. I always tell DeAngelo it's important to just set time aside and just, you're not working on anybody's project, you're not working on anything in particular, but just be creative, play around with the new software and kind of see what you create, just making time to just be creative. And the same thing with me. I've tried branching off, especially this year and late last year, into playing around with graphics and stuff like that. And I find that I kind of like, creating stuff. So I think always wanting to learn and be teachable. I find myself also just looking up what event or what conference can I attend that's gonna better my knowledge in event planning or hospitality, and it's just constantly wanting to stay on top of things and stay on top of the trends, like DeAngelo said. So I think that's a really big part of it.
And one thing before I go, April, I want to say one thing I heard from Dr. Monroe. A lot of times, especially setting yourself apart, a lot of times we look at the competition, but the competition is in me. Like, I want to set myself apart from me. Like, what did I do last year that I could do better this year?
Yeah.
A lot of times we compare ourselves, and I think a lot of persons know that comparison kills.
Yeah.
You could fall into depression, you could get sidetracked, and we try to compare. But the thing is, I always try to beat me. Like, okay, I did that last year. What am I going to do this year? And that's the whole thing about trying to set yourself apart and being exceptional, beating you, being the best version of you every time you set yourself out.
That's really good because you both shared a lot of things, and part of that is you first have to make the decision. I want to do better, right? I recognize my purpose. I have skills, but how can I develop those skills? How can I hone those skills? And it takes some time, right? And also some finances. Buying books, like you said, instead of saying, oh man, the pandemic's happening, I can't go outside in this beautiful island. I'm stuck inside, and said, well, if I'm stuck inside, I might as well make the best of it. And so that really comes with having an attitude, right? This mental mindset of how can I get better? And it starts with me. And one thing you said too, Talia, you seek out, right? Because some people just go, they're sitting back like waiting on something to come to them. But to actively seek books, seek conferences, ways that you can expand your mindset, expose yourself to new trends. Dee's always doing something. I know Talia is like, okay, what's new? But how can I get better? And something else you said too, like competition is with you. How can you become better? And reminding people that it starts small. I mean, when I first started this platform, it was like, I'm still learning, right? But I started it. And so part of that too is getting started, because you can read and do all the things, but if you never get started, like take the first step, learn from that, how I can get better, what can we do to add? And then it grows, it expands. And I've seen that in both of the work you do, because you both work together. And what is that like, working together? Talk to us about husband and wife. Wait, hold on. I want to leave happy, but talk to us about it, because it's a reality, right? You work together, you live together. Talk about that.
I'm going to start off. Sometimes it can be challenging working with your wife, because you're the boss and the husband. So at the same time, you have to have patience, but then you want to get your point across. And then you have a wife who is also the boss, because she's your partner. And so it's a 50-50 thing in the business. It's a 50-50 thing at home. And so it's like her ideas need to come across. I need to listen to her ideas and not shun it. But as the boss, I'm like, listen to me. This is what I want. This is how I want it. And then sometimes I can see her face like, you know what? I'm just going to give him what he wants. And then sometimes I allow her to make that move and trust her, because she has her own creativity. And like she said, she started to get into graphics. So that's the end where she is doing great in. But a lot of stuff, she is really ahead in. But at the same time, working in business together sometimes can be a friction, especially even on jobs. Like there would be a moment where we ain't talking to each other on a production because, I wanted something done and she wanted to do it one way. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to do this for this man before we get mad and we lose this client, so.
Keep it 100. That's what this is all about, right? This is reality. Yeah.
It's really tough. It can be really, really tough, April, because we're two very different personalities. So of course, we agree on the goals and the objectives of the business, but it's the logistical side of it that I think we disagree on a lot. I've definitely quit quite a number of times. But I have definitely
she sent me all my emails like, this is all your documents, this is everything, this is where you find it. Okay, I'm not working for you anymore.
It can be really challenging, and then it can be really challenging not getting the business side of it mixed up in the actual marriage side of it. But it could be tough too, because I am really into event planning, organization, logistics. I always look at it from that standpoint. And I find that a lot of creatives aren't logistical. Like they just think about the work, the actual editing and shooting and everything, but logistically they don't. So like I said, we're two different people. And I mean, it works well because we do work well together. But of course, we do have those times where we kind of clash. But him being able to just be creative and then me being able to work on the logistics side of everything and making sure that everything is organized, I think overall, it's been good for us.
It's really good working with my wife. I'll give you an example, April. I just came back from a shoot in Virginia, and so she takes care of logistics. So she got a new contract this year working with another event company planning their event. So she wasn't able to make it with me. And my mind is all about creating. And every day she's calling me, D, this is what I want you to do. And D, I say, listen, let me take this one day at a time. Let me at least get there first before you tell me anything. Let me check in. Then D, you got to make sure you get your COVID test. You got to make sure you have your passport. Okay, you make sure all the equipment that we shipped over is there in place. It's like, okay, Tali, stop, breathe. Let me reach to my destination, and then we're gonna do this one. And because her mind is like, okay, I got to make sure that everything is right because we got to make sure that the client is happy. You can't forget anything. And so that's her thing. And sometimes it can be overwhelming, but at the same time, I know she's doing her job. And, as your wife, you can't row or you can't chastise or correct like you would do a real employee. But she is a real employee. So sometimes I do can get firm, but at the same time, I don't want her to quit again because I might have a problem. I got a problem and I need her.
It's a learning curve for sure. It's a learning curve, but I think we're learning as we go along.
Yeah. But I think in the to the end of it all, that you love each other and that your interest is always for the best, right? Because love desires the best of each other, and the fact that you're wired differently, right? To look at maybe the more creative side, to look at the more practical side, it causes a little bit of tension. Yeah. But it's that you fit together and that you complement each other, and it's a beautiful thing. But yes, I know creatives are different in where their brains operate to those of us who like to plan things. But it's beautiful to see that you can work it together. And Dee, I bet you that Talia is your best employee, certainly your favorite, and vice versa, right, Talia? Because I'm sure there are times too where stepping outside of having things all together in order, that you just kind of relax and let the creative juice flow. I guess you're getting into graphics may kind of be a little bit of DeAngelo's imprint.
Yes.
Yes. I think as I continue with it, I see it coming forth.
Yeah. And then DeAngelo, making sure that things arrive on time, checklists and those things are some of Talia's influence.
Yes, that it has, especially on this job I just went on. I saw it come out a lot because she was in there. And then so I had to make sure that every equipment that I shipped over, every piece was in place so that I could be able to complete the job and send back home so I could do other jobs after I'm done.
Yeah. So it does help. And I think that really testifies to each person's value and significance, right? I remember hearing, you've learned a lot about the process through Dr. Pender, and then also about significance and value with Dr. Monroe, and now, with Dr. Burrows, leading BFM, to hear, all these voices and mentorship that have over the years impacted your life. Share with us some of the things that you've learned from all three of these men, and even, Talia, Pastor Sheena, your mom, who's still there working, DeAngelo, your mom, and, share with us some things that you just learned from your mentors and coaches that could help us to live this exceptional life that we're desiring.
Let you go first.
That's a loaded question. That's definitely a loaded question. I guess I'll start with my parents, of course. Just watching, being able to grow up with them as parents, but also seeing them as, pastors and leaders of a church. It really taught me a lot about both marriage, because I got to see them from the personal aspect, and I got to see them from the ministry aspect. And seeing them be able to balance the two, it really helped me a lot in my marriage, and just seeing their love for ministry, their love for people. And I remember hearing my dad talk about how in the beginning of ministry, when he started, because he was in his both of them were in their 20s, and he was saying that God really had to give him a love for people, because it was hard in the beginning, and I could really understand where he was coming from, but it was so
Humans,
good.
Right?
Yeah, it was so good to hear him say that, because I only knew my dad, of course, in the capacity of seeing him love people a lot, especially like his members and everything. So hearing him say that he really had to go through a period of asking God to give him a love for people, and seeing only seeing the side of him that really loved people, it really was inspiring to me, just to see that God actually really did give him that love and walked him through that process. I guess, which really made him that person to talk about process. Yeah. So being able to see them just really flourish in ministry, but then also flourish in family, because they both had a way of always being at church, but then always being at home. So it's just an example of how God is really faithful, and he could just make you flourish so well in two different areas of life. So I think that was, and the same with Pastor Ruth and Pastor Miles, who I call Uncle Ruth and Uncle Miles, Aunt Ruth and Uncle Miles. It's the same with them, seeing them both flourish in ministry, flourish in family, because they were in ministry a lot, traveling a lot, but they were also really good parents, really good aunts and uncles. So it's just good to see that balance, because we see a lot of pastors who their church is doing well, but their families are falling apart. So I think growing up and being able to see my parents really balance that and really make it look easy for us. I don't know if it was hard for them, but they really made it look easy for us. So I think that was really like one of the major things for me, as just inspiration and exceptional living.
So, all right. So sorry. Yeah. So for me, coming in, I know Talia was indoctrinated and grew up in the whole kingdom and purpose. But once I came in, I was able to grasp and understand it right away. I remember I came in as like you say, production assistant, and I was sitting on the cameras, just listening to Dr. Monroe teach. And I'd be like, y'all hear that? Like, it was so profound. And so it was like, okay, guys, you just hear what he's saying. Like the Bible said, faith coming by hearing, and hearing through the word of God. And so it was like, okay, cool. I was hearing this man talk about purpose and identity, and how your name is and your identity is your gift, and how a bird doesn't go to school to learn how to fly, and a fish doesn't go to swim school, and all these things. I was like, hold on now. And seeing April Lois come to these conferences and excelling, I'm like, okay, God, you put me in this room for some reason. I'm not just here haphazardly. I'm here either to absorb this for free, or I'm here to make some connections. And that was the thing I did. I made the connections, especially from Dr. Monroe, being in those rooms, those small mentorship program rooms, and those leading edge rooms, seeing all of you mentees just sit there at the feet of Dr. Monroe like Mary Martha, and seeing you absorbed everything. And I was like, okay, D, you got to start absorbing. And then when it comes down to Pastor Rich, seeing how comfortable he was as this number 2 guy, because a lot of persons aren't comfortable playing the second. A lot of people want to be the superhero, they want to be the lead. And one of the things when I went to Pastor Rich and told him that I want him to mentor me, I said, I love how you're comfortable in you. You're this dynamic speaker. You could lead your own church. You could just break away and do whatever. But he was so comfortable being him and being able to fill in the gap whenever Pastor Miles was traveling around the world and catering to you all, April, on those different missions. And he was here to stand in the gap. The Bible talked about when the children of Israel was fighting, and Moses had his hands up and his hands get tired. Miriam and her had to hold the hands up, and when they got tired, the trees had to hold the hands up, and that's what we are. Our job is to continue to hold up and lift the vision. And now Pastor Dave is in place, and so my job is to still be here and hold up the hands of the vision.
Yeah, it both of what you shared was so poignant, because Talia, you said that your foundation, really your learning, started in the home.
Yeah.
And it's people say you could choose your friends, but you can't choose your family, right? And then people laugh about that. But to know that it starts there in the environment when you're young, and how you observed your parents in ministry, but also at home, and being there, and lessons learned, because sometimes we're in our workplaces a lot, and we think, okay, well, here's the key, let yourself in, message me when you get home. And but you can work together. Yeah, you can work together, and to that end, I think it's important that when we hear, I would hear your dad and Dr. Monroe talk about, the first thing God created was the family. Mm-hmm. Right? There was no church, there was no congregation. He created the family that is to be the foundation
Yes.
of community and society, and our first learning is our first school of instruction. And DeAngelo, to your point, right? And we've witnessed this, Talia, right? Being there when he said something, D's on the camera, like, hey, camera. He's like, did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
But to sit there, yes, and to listen and to glean. And I love something you said, Dee. You went to Pastor Pender and you said, will you mentor me? And we've heard through both Dr. Moreau and Dr. Pender about mentorship, right? That the mentee pursues the mentor,
Correct.
not the other way around. And so to see your pursuit of that, and I don't know, Talia, maybe no, I'm not going to say this, Dee. I'm not going to say it. But I will say it's almost like David. So Dee's story reminds me a little bit of David and Goliath, right? He slayed Goliath and he got the princess.
I know, that's exactly what it was.
And I think that was his motive, but I think, that's the blessing. I mean, you get this blessing when you have, Richard, Pastor Sheena there, and then Talia, you get, this blessing of this person who is like, they see it, they're going for it, right? They've been through, Dee, as I was reading earlier, your story. Right? Nobody writes a story and go, when I grow up, I want this to happen to me, and I want to be disappointed, and I want to have loss, and I want to, nobody writes that in our own narrative, but the reality is that happens to us.
Yeah.
And I know you've both experienced that, and there are people who are watching today that may have also experienced disappointment, great loss. What would you say to them? Maybe share what's helped you work in it, through it. Maybe you're still working through it, but what would you share with someone who's also experienced setback, disappointment, or great loss?
I'll start off because, I know my father died when I was 7, and so my journey might have been a little longer, and Talia lost her dad a few years ago. And one of the things that I always try to do is keep my head focused, because I saw my mom struggle, at the same time raised us with no complaints. Even though she had 6 kids, my dad didn't leave. He didn't run away. He never came back home. He actually passed away. And so that right there is like totally different. Some people still have their dad. They could go by on the weekends, or he'll come around once a year or every birthday. But my father was gone, and I was the oldest. And so I had to step up to the plate. I had to be the man in the house. I remember coming home from my father's home going, everybody's like, you're the man now, even though I was 7. And so that literally changed the whole way I saw things. And I had to throw on my big boy pants and make a way for me, and then be able to be that beacon for my other siblings to be able to see that, hey, yes, we came from underprivileged areas, a disposition that some might call unsurmountable, but we are going to surmount and be able to overcome. And that was the whole thing for my life, overcoming. I don't want to be a product of my society. I don't want to be a product of my community. Yes, I was in a gang. Yes, I was a part of those statistics, but at the same time, I told myself it's time for me to overcome. Yes, my father's gone. Yes, I have these things that stacked against me, these odds that can, for me, easily for me to throw in the towel and say, hey, okay, cool, I can give up. But what I did is I kept my head straight, focus on God, focus on my purpose, understood what I wanted, and I kept on moving. And I kept on, and sometimes there aren't persons around you that help you because they don't understand what you're going through internally. That's the whole thing. It's an internal thing because you're a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, and you're seeing people with their fathers.
Yeah. And
it's not like your father can come back. Your father's literally gone. So it's like, okay. And I had moments where I wish my father was always here, and that was the whole process for me. And so I always told my son, I'm going to always be here for you regardless of whatever situation. And I try to be here for the young men that's in my program, at the ministry, in the media department, because a lot of them are fatherless homes. And so my job is to be that example with my wife and my son. And I know my wife, she has a lot to talk about too, because she also had a great loss recently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, November 9th definitely it was one of those moments, definitely the hardest thing that I think all of us ever had to deal with, just the reality of losing so many people that were so close to you. And I mean, getting us through it I would definitely say nobody but God, because we still don't know how we were able to, looking back at it now and seeing how we were able to cope and deal. And of course, we're still coping and dealing. But in that moment, how we were able to deal with it, it was only God. I would also say, I mean, like literally, it's about finding your tribe, because our kingdom community was a really, really, really big part of what got us through everything. Our family, our friends, and our kingdom community at church for sure. Because we all grieve together. So it was one of those things that, even though we were feeling it the most because we were their family, having close friends and family in a kingdom community that was also there, it was really key for us, because we have people that, I mean, every day would say, we're praying for you, and we literally felt the prayer. So we knew that people were literally praying for us to just praying for God's comfort for us, because there was really no words that anybody could really say to make us feel better. But also just having the parents that we had, um, we understood purpose, we understood legacy, we understood all of that. So that was a big part of helping us to just just carry on and keep their legacy alive.
Yeah. And you have these moments, like as you said, Talia, and I remember being in Freeport, to be exact, on that day and when everything happened, and having support.
Yeah.
DeAngelo, you said, and sometimes it's hard for people, as you said, Jill. Talia, what do you say? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? We don't have the answers. I mean, we could still ask questions now, and we may never get the answer. But I think what Dee and you shared was powerful, because one, you shared having a support, persons who have your back, not just figuratively, because you say, I got you, Ty, I'm praying for you, I'm thinking of you, but that they're there, that you can pick up the phone if you need to, whatever time of day, they'll answer, they're there for you. And D'Angelo, to your point, right? Sometimes loss also comes in and shows us more of ourselves and ministry, right? So you're having that experience now, you're helping other young men who have similar experiences, without a father in the home. And Talia, just to see what you're doing with young women and how both of you together working with young adults. And so I think it also goes to perspective, right? How you see the loss in the situation, it is what it is. We're not taking anything from it. It hurts, right? But how can we find some healing or something that we can give that helps us? And I think that's what makes our journey, our faith. Sometimes people don't understand. Like, how can you still help others when you've lost? How can you give away something that you have little of? But that's what our faith is, and that's what part of it, not all of it, but part of it. And so I think, as you both have shared, having that support is important. And it's knowing who you can trust, right? And so I would ask, if you had to look at maybe 2 or 3 things that have guided your life, personally, professionally, what would you say have been the things that you say, this is my mantra, this is my ethos. I look at these things for my life, for my work, for my ministry?
Definitely number one would be my faith in God, for sure. That has really been, and not to even sound cliche, but that's really what it is. That's my number one thing, especially going through everything that I've gone through. That has become definitely the number one thing that has guided my life. And in terms of ministry, and in terms of because I work in ministry also, as a ministry of helps person in media, and I've been doing that from high school time, but also in the capacity of event planning with conferences and everything. And it's really taught me to always serve with excellence, always give my best, because I always tell people that I've traveled a lot with both my parents and Pastor Miles and Pastor Ruth, and I know how we feel when we travel, when we go to different churches and different ministries. I know how we're made to feel really welcome, and I always wanted to be able to make anybody that comes into Bahamas Faith Ministries or Monroe Global, I always want to make them feel that type of welcome into the ministry, because I want them to feel how I felt. We want that to be their first point of contact. So working with excellence in ministry, whether you're being paid or not, that's always something that I've always been really passionate about.
I have some principles, as you know. I try to be phenomenal and everything, and phenomenal can be this big word that a lot of people are like, oh, phenomenal. Nah, it's just, again, you being great with yourself.
Yeah.
You being so good in yourself that you're going to set yourself apart, and you're going to be exceptional whatever you do. And so I don't water down any of my principles. I try to stay loyal to the people that's loyal to me. That's one of my biggest things, loyalty. If I see loyalty or distrust, if you're not loyal and distrust, then you can lose me. I'm so big. That's why after 9/11, Dr. Martin, I'm still around. I'm still loyal to the vision, even though the visionary is gone. I'm still there, making sure that I'm holding and undergirding whoever's next, regardless of if it's Dr. Dave, Pastor Kirsch, or whoever comes after them. My job is to hold up the vision. Also, my thing is work hard. Work hard, it pays off. A lot of time, people want to get out what they didn't put in. I know a lot of people do that. They want to get this result. They want this result. They want this result. They want this result. But they didn't put anything in. They didn't plant any seeds. They didn't work the ground. They didn't make the connections. They didn't learn. They didn't study. They didn't grow. They didn't elevate. But they look at me and see me traveling around the world. They may look at you, April, and see you doing such an exceptional job of everything you're doing. They might look at my wife, but we put the work in.
Yeah.
I met you through the conference, April. We met through you coming down to the Bahamas, and we coming to the conferences in Atlanta and different places. So we made those connections. It's all about making those connections and being able to be personable. That's another thing too. I try to keep being personable, being open. My wife calls me a social butterfly.
Yes.
And so that's the whole thing. Whenever I meet with April, we can have a long conversation of whatever we're going to talk about. If it's politics, media, we're going to talk. We're going to chop it up. We're going to go to lunch. So if you're in Atlanta or we're in the Bahamas, we're going to sit down and have a great conversation. And so we're doing the work. And so we put in the work. And now we're here on a TV show with April Ripley.
with a fruit punch, I might add. You know how we are about our fruit punch.
I know, right?
Yeah. But I love, Talia, you said be excellent at every level, whether you're paid or not. Because, a lot of times people, well, I'm not getting paid for this. We've heard that, right? Like, you expect me to get, I'm not getting paid.
Yeah.
But God looks at how we work, even without pay. And we all know persons who have volunteered. Other people have watched how they work and said, hey, come do this job for me. Seeing how both of you have worked at ministry has led to other, as you said, business clients and customers. So always do things in an excellent way. Yes. And as you said, Talia, how you would want to be treated in an excellent way and honored, that's what you give. And I've seen that every time I've gone to BFM, whether it's there at the Miles Monroe Diplomat Center or there's a hotel for a conference, always in excellence, always things in order. And that is a testament to, again, the founders of the house, to the visionaries, to the mission, and also to the strategic alignment and mission that goes out beyond the house. D, be phenomenal or be forgotten. We'll always do that. But I love it. You said this is set yourself apart and to work hard, to work your ground. Yeah. And that's also important, right? The ground that God has given you, right? From the beginning, God told Adam to manage where he had placed him.
Correct.
And when you do that, then you're able to expand your territory. This is a parable, right? An earthly story with a heavenly lesson. He talks about once you do well with the talents that he's given you, you work those, more is given to you.
Right,
Like you said, people like, well, Talia, I don't understand. How come you do this? And D, you're doing this. Because you've worked the ground. Whether you saw me working it in front of a camera or saw me behind or ordering books or equipment, making sure it got shipped on time, right, Talia? You know, telling D, don't forget your checklist.
Yes.
All a part of working your ground. And I remind people that God sees all. So even if you don't see my, the highlight reel, all the things behind God sees that, and he blesses us. He says he'll bless us openly.
Yes.
But, I commend both of you for the journey you've taken together. I remember your wedding, beautiful, at the Atlantis. What an amazing day. I was so honored to be there in attendance and to celebrate the two of you coming together. And not just coming together as, yes, it's husband and wife, but bringing family, bringing vision together, and what God has in store for you. I know it's going to be phenomenal and will not be forgotten. And yes, so I, just on behalf of Exceptional Living, want to thank you both for being our guests today. To hear, I told you we're going to bring all kinds of global influencers here today. So I do hope, and I'm sure that you've heard something today that speaks to you. And before we let our guests go, we're just going to ask if you have any closing thoughts or just anything you'd like to say to the audience before we close out this particular segment.
All right, so what I want to say again, be phenomenal or be forgotten. You have to be phenomenal. I heard that from Eric Thomas. It's not my quote. There's a quote that I just took on, and I've took that on as one of my main quotes. Be phenomenal, because a lot of times people count you out. And the only way for people don't count you out, for a person to see you above the crowd, in the back of the crowd, a face in the crowd, you have to be phenomenal. A lot of times as business persons, as entrepreneurs, kingdom citizens, we want to hide in the crowd. We want to fit in. It's my job to stand out. I have to stand out if I want to be seen, if I want to be heard. I have to be loud. I have to make sure that people see. You have to make sure that you stand out above everybody. You have to stand out. That's the main thing. Stand out. Don't fit in. Don't go with the crowd. Sometimes you might feel like, okay, that's the way everybody else is going. Go your own way. You're the leader. You're the captain of your own ship. Set your own course. Make sure God is in the front, and he's never going to lead you astray.
I would just like to say, whatever you do, do it with excellence. Put forth your best, and God is going to bless it. He's going to honor it. And always remember that you're, like I said, exceptional living. It's about what you want for yourself. So make sure you're writing down your goals. Make sure you're writing down everything that you want to accomplish in your life. And also make sure that you are putting your best foot forward to see that actually come to fruition so you can live an exceptional life.
Amen.
Love it. Put your best foot forward. Always do things in excellence. Do things above and beyond. Go beyond. Reach, stretch to be phenomenal, and you will not be forgotten.
Won't be forgotten.
Yeah, DeAngelo and Talia Rolle, thank you so much for being our guests today. We are just blessed. We are inspired to live an exceptional life, to go beyond. And again, thank you from the beautiful nation of the Bahamas. Yes, we know God lives there. He lives there. Vacation home in Atlanta, and you've heard that. But thank you so much for being a part today.
Thank you so much, April, for having us on.
Both of you guys. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Bye, April.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in today. You just heard from our amazing guests, DeAngelo Rolle and Talia Rolle, who are reaching beyond, going beyond. They are phenomenal, certainly not to be forgotten, but living an exceptional lifestyle and excellence unique by our Creator's design. I want to invite you to please subscribe to our channel, like and share. You can find us here on YouTube. You can go to our website, aprilripley.com. So thank you for listening. And remember that you were created to live an exceptional life, unique by design. God bless.